Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So, thank you very much, dear students, and I welcome you all to this digital platform of IGNO on the paper 13. So, I hope you are very sincere about money, finance, or economic aspects. I hope. And because you know that to survive in this world, it is very much needful for surviving, for purchasing anything in our life. We have to work, we have to find something. There is a need of money. Like that, today, very interesting thing we will talk about how the education system is affected and related with the economics perspective and political perspective. Fine. So I'm trying to share a PPT. If it is visible, please tell me. Is it visible?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Perfect.
Visible.
Yes, sir.
Visible, sir.
Okay, fine, fine. Thank you. So, dear students, you know very well that how money is very much important, or you may say cost, bringing certain provisions for education, right? Making provisions for education definitely involves cost. Anything you do in your life, like for educational purpose, the cost may be in the form of infrastructures creation in college, university, school, playground, library, laboratory, salary of teaching staff, non-teaching employees, tuition fee, scholarship for student, and in so many other heads, we see that how money is important. So the funds required to meet the expenditure ଯାହା ବି ମୋର ଖର୍ଚ୍ଚ ହଉଛି may come from the block level, may come from the district level, maybe from the national level or international agencies. So it is one of the most important precondition, you may say, for making education available. And you know that how the money is bringing the quality of education. So you can say funding determines, it will determine in a different perspectives to a large context the quality of education, isn't it? Is it visible the next slide?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Sir, yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So you know that the funding determines to a very, very, very large context and extent, you may say, to bring the quality of education. So in turn, the quality of education also determines the quality of a job, the quality of promotions, the quality of employees. So we can say that funding or money, or you may say cost, how effect or avenue. Funding avenues affect learners' progress, learners' income, learners' strength, isn't it? So we can say in today's education system, there are a larger number of issues which are directly and indirectly related to financing of education. And you know, they are very crucial for understanding in a uh, educational point of view, as we are the students, or you may say you are the learners of education. You should have an idea about the how it is relevant funding for education. Is there any difficulty in financing education? তুমি যেତେବେଳେ ଜଣେ ସ୍କୁଲରେ ଟିଚର ହବ ବା ଅଛ, ହାଇ ସ୍କୁଲରେ ଟିଚର ଅଛ ବା ପ୍ରାଇମେରୀ ସ୍କୁଲରେ ଅଛ, so we have seen that government is providing money or financial assistance with certain conditions, and you have to use it in that heads, various heads. Okay, so let us will talk about how education is, the rate of returns to education. You know, if we use money, definitely will get benefit from education. You know that educational expenditure is a kind of investment. So you directly getting it, or indirect external benefits of education you are getting, right? So definitely there is benefits of return. You have listened anywhere, or you have known that the contribution of education to human economic welfare, maybe into the monetary or non-monetary benefits, বা direct benefits, and ତାକୁ ଆମେ further divide କଲେ direct benefits and indirect benefits. Private benefits also there, social benefits of education is there. So we can say that education କ୍ଷେତ୍ରରେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ ପଇସାକୁ ବ୍ୟବହାର କରନ୍ତି, ୟୁଜ୍ କରନ୍ତି, so ତାର benefits ହିଁ benefit ଅଛି. The benefits or returns of education will get it. Direct returns हो, financial option हो, ମୁଁ ଗୋଟେ କଥା example ନବା, direct benefits of education କେମିତିଆ ନା, direct benefits of education are certain kind of benefits of education or returns from the education which is, which are realized direct by the students. You are getting some scholarships, financial assistance. Okay. Proceed to the very simple thing is there. Financing of education important, and this is being done by the local bodies, the central government, and the state government is also providing. And as a teacher, you have seen that nowadays how the teachers are busy in several activities in school, organizing several programs, isn't it? The central list, we will talk about the agencies of financing education. You know that central list means here we will talk about the government is, the central government is playing the important role. In central government schools, and there is other financial assistance directly come from the government, right? You know that ଆମ ସେଣ୍ଟ୍ରାଲ ଲେଭୁଲରେ ଯେତେ ଗୁଡେ ପଲିସିସ୍ ତିଆରି ହଉଛି, specifically in India, I'm talking about the government of India, how many policies are framed for the successful implementation of the policy. Government is regularly providing. Supna Sahu, please mute yourself. Supna Sahu, are you getting me? Please mute. Vijay Lakshmi Raut and Supna Sahu, please mute. अरे यार, Supna Sahu, please mute. Okay, fine. I hope everything okay now. So let us will talk about. Huh. We are talking about the agencies of financing education. Talk about how central list where the responsibility lies with the central government, the state list where the responsibilities rest with the state governments, and that those the concurrent list where the both central government and state government share the responsibilities for making provision of education. There are central universities, state universities, isn't it? And the education system, the total education system is concurrent. If you talk about the political point of view, if you go to the chapter, you will see that education is on concurrent list. Okay. So do you think that agency jo financing education only by the central government, state government, and the both the help of central and state? No, there's also other sources or agencies. That your parents are, when you are going to a tuition, your parents are paying money. And in coaching class, isn't it? They are also paying certain amount of money. And financing of education by the parents, if we talk about, we know that it is the parents who have always have been the major investors in the education of their children. And today's new trend of of education is reduction of public funding, and privatization of education is going on, particularly the higher education. ମୋ ଛୁଆ ଏଠି ପାଠ ପଢିବ, ଏଠି କଲେଜରେ ପାଠ ପଢା ହଉନି, ଏଠି ଯିବ ଗଭର୍ଣ୍ଣମେଣ୍ଟ କଲେଜ କାହିଁକି ଯିବ, ସେ ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ହଷ୍ଟେଲରେ ପାଠ ପଢିବ। So the parents share in financing children's education has been increased nowadays, and uh, this kind of attitude of parents for what? For bringing children's development in education. So the financing of children's education by the parents depends on how or what amount of financial resources they have. Financial resources of the parents. Financial resources ଥିବ କିନ୍ତୁ ଯଦି ଗାର୍ଡିଆନ ମାନେ ବିଭିନ୍ନ ସୋର୍ସରୁ ଇନକମ୍ କରୁଛନ୍ତି ବା କୌଣସି ପ୍ରକାରର ବିଜନେସ୍ କରିକି if they are not educated properly, if they don't have the ability or skill, knowledge about the value of education, so they cannot sacrifice money, or they cannot invest money for proper education of their children. So the willingness of the parents to make sacrifice for the future of their children is also important thing, isn't it? And all the parent must have this kind of attitude should develop among them, that education is a very important factor and my children should get it. So educational background of the parents, and if the parents are not properly educated, guided, nurtured, so ପିଲାମାନେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ମ୍ୟାଟ୍ରିକ ପାସ୍ କରନ୍ତି, ବହୁତ କଷ୍ଟରେ ସପୋଜ ମ୍ୟାଟ୍ରିକ ପାସ୍ କରିଗଲା, ସେ ବହୁତ କନଫ୍ୟୁଜ ହୁଏ ଆକ୍ଚୁଆଲି ମୁଁ କୋଉ ସବଜେକ୍ଟରୁ କି ପଢିବି, ସାଇନ୍ସ ପଢିବି, ଆର୍ଟ୍ସ ପଢିବି କି କମର୍ସ ପଢିବି, which subject I will prefer, which stream I will prefer, so they are being confused as well. If the parents educational background is very good, strong, they can identify that my students potentiality, talent, or their ability in this area, so I should prefer him, I should admit him in this college, this university, or this institute, that her talent can be explored, her abilities can be used. And it is very much important that the educational background of the parents for financing of education. Again, the parents' ability to distinctly foresee the future, isn't it? So we are ready at the parents' point of view. We are ready to invest money, but how adequately, how clearly you have a map on your mind, a goal on your mind to see the child in future days, educational perspectives. So in that directions, if if the money is invested, then the child will definitely get a good opportunity in her future, in his future, and will be an independent person. Fine. So another thing comes to my mind, that another economist, Alfred Marshall, talked about uh, the splendor means education of the parents. The splendor means and the education of parents and the comparative weakness of their power of distinctively realizes the future, and that prevent them for investing capital into the education and training of their children. So it is very much important for the parents to have an idea about the education, financing education, and the ability to force the future and overemphasize the role of parents financing resources in explaining the low rate of participation in education by the children and of the poor and illiterates. You have seen ଯୋଉମାନେ ଭଲସେ ତୟାର ନଥାନ୍ତି ବା not ready to see, not ready to see the position, to see the position of their family, the level of intelligence of the child, and her need, her choice, her preference. Okay, fine. Next, we'll talk about financing of education by employers. Yes, research and development and RD, and the education training of their employees. Definitely, if no research will be done, development cannot be happen. Research and development is essential, isn't it? And the training for the workers, the employees, those who are involved in the system, is also important. This may be seen in four heads, three heads. The expected benefits, that is, if their own opinion, they think that it will pay them to do so. Worker का हम कुछ employer का again, sometimes some employer think that their ambitious character that may make them aiming at leading the race, pioneering the new art of education and production and management. Is it actually right? Again, it is important that their philanthropic nature, philanthropic is very good, you may say, uh, a benevolent nature, and a benevolence which may have them to take a generous interest in the education and the well-being of employees. So, as a teacher's point of view, we know that financing of education by the employers is also creating a positive situation for bringing a generous interest and well-being of their employees, isn't it? ଜଣେ ଡେଡିକେଟଲି କେତେବେଳେ କାମ କରିବ ଗୋଟେ ଏମ୍ପ୍ଲୟୀ, when he will work, when there is opportunities, when there is rewards, when there are reinforcement, when there are facilities, when there are promotions, when there are rewards. So definitely say kama karibu. That is my institute. I have to work hard. I have to pay attention. I have to uh, give importance. I have to use my all the talents, abilities, isn't it? So next we'll talk about the cost and cost effectiveness. If we see the current the capital cost of education, I'm generally kuhanti the cost of education may be classified as what current cost and the capital cost. So the current cost consists କଣ କରୁଛି those outlets or expenditures which are incurred on current activities ଯେମିତି କି payment of salaries of teachers, non-teaching staff ହଉ, uh, depreciation of building equipments, ବୁଝିହେଲା? This is the current cost. And if we talk about the capital cost consists of the outlets incurred for future, right? The future purposes ଆମେ ଯାକୁ use କରନ୍ତି. The capital cost includes expenditure incurred for development of the infrastructure, construction of new building, or new classroom, or hostel, school, offices, laboratories, purchase of new um, scientific equipments, some purchase of any equipments. So the expenditures must have been they have been fully incurred during the current year itself. But those such kind of expenditures should not be classified under the head of current cost, isn't it? So, in other words, we can say that it is important to see not only the periods, dates when expenditures are incurred. As a teacher's point of view, you should also see the period during which concerned outlets will be used. if the use is extended beyond the current year, if the use is extended beyond the current year, so the relevant outlay should be considered as capital cost. ବୁଝିହେଲା? So next proceed towards the direct and indirect cost. Very simple thing. The direct cost of education consists of expenditures like explicitly incurred by the students or their families and the educational institutions for education purpose only. So, the students and their families incur expenditures how? On accounts of tuition fee, books, additional cost for hostels, boarding fees, school uniform हो, clothing हो, कार जो ऑटो भड़ा बा transportation and to from school. So these are directly you are right. So the educational institutions incur explicit expenditure on salaries of teaching and non-teaching staff, library books, capital outlay, equipments, chemical equipments, lab equipments, laboratories ପାଇଁ କଣ ଜିନିଷ ଦରକାର ହଉଛି. So these are we can say that directly. They may have been incurred either by the private individual, student ho, their parents ho, বা society, any government institute ho, বা any uh, ପ୍ରାଇଭେଟ ଏନଜିଓ ବି ପ୍ରୋଭାଇଡ କରିପାରେ. Now talk about we'll see the indirect cost uh, are indirect cost ର ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ଅଦର ନେମ୍ ଅଛି ତାକୁ ଆମେ କୁହନ୍ତି opportunity cost. Opportunity cost of education, indirect cost, sometimes often called as the opportunity cost of education. And we can also say it we can call it like the imputed cost also. Unlike the direct cost, indirect cost of education are implicit rather than explicit. कौन ना the indirect cost of education consists of cost of earnings foregone by the students. So what happened here? Now the students, instead of enrolling and attending the school college, could have taken up a job and made some income. Ujela. So by attending the school, the student forgoes the income that he may have otherwise earned. So while estimating the imputed value of students foregoing earning, one should make adjustment for the facts that kono na student may be working part-time job and hence not foregoing his her entire potential earnings. ठीक? But assuming the prevalence of high unemployment in today's situation, the students would not have got any job at all, isn't it? So this would mean that students could not have any income and the income foregone would have even neutral, no money, but zero or much less than what could have been if there was full employment. So we can say this is the part-time job of students. In addition, the students' foregone earnings, they may be other hidden or indirect cost of education. Imputed, for example, the imputed rent on a school building should be included in the indirect cost of education. Imputed rent on the school building should be included in the indirect cost of education. This is due to the fact if the school building was not engaged in educational activities. So, if you go through the ignore materials, you will get another enough idea regarding that how it is helpful. Next is the private the private cost. You know that the private cost of education, the private cost of includes all the expenditures incurred by students parents to meet ଯେମିତିକି ଆମେ କହିବା tuition fee ହେଇପାରୁ tuition cost or the non tuition cost earning of organ while ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ କୌଣସି estimating the tuition cost paid by the student normally we deduct from the fees paid financial scholarship etc जोटा कि हमें पिलाटा रिसीव करता है yearly हो या monthly हो. In other words, we can say that the net tuition costs are included in the private cost of education. So the non-tuition private cost we include in terms of books, stationery equipment, so khata, pen, diary, pencil, rubber, scale, equipments, cost of maintenance of students, logging and lodging and boarding, and may say transport. Next, social cost of education. You know that social cost of education is sum total of private and institutional cost of education. The time available private cost consists of non-tuition and non-tuition, and the institutional cost consists of both the current and operating cost of the capital system. So both itaku join kari kahila amara social. So the opportunity cost or income foregone is not included in the computation of total social cost. The social cost of education is the sum total of private and the institutional cost of education. And next is there the unit cost of education. The unit cost of education what? The unit cost education means the unit cost of education is cost per unit. The unit cost generally calculated per student those who are enrolled, but it may be also calculated per graduated student per course and per institution also. So it is generally arrived by dividing the total cost of education by the total number of say students. So the total cost of education consists of the sum total of all the expenditures incurred by the students, by parents, and that incurred by the institution, government, by society, isn't it? So it takes into account all the expenditures incurred by salaries of the teaching and teaching staff, automized cost of building, equipments, other materials of educational institutions, household cost of students on books, stationery, living hostel fee, cost of organ earnings. To pay not to simply, the example near this very simply, the unit cost of education तीनटा मेजर कंपोनेंट्स को नहीं होची इंस्टीट्यूशनल कॉस्ट कैपिटल कॉस्ट इक्विपमेंट कॉस्ट ऑपरेटिंग कॉस्ट स्टूडेंट कॉस्ट लास्ट सेकंड रे कोन ट्यूशन अदर फीस कॉस्ट ऑफ बुक्स इक्विपमेंट्स स्टेशनरी एक्स्ट्रा कॉस्ट ऑफ मेंटेनेंस इनकम एंड फॉरगॉन ओके सो नाउ we will talk about the internal and external efficiency of education. Internal and external efficiency of education. Uh, internal and external efficiency education generally internal efficiency of education कौन आम टिके हल्का जान नवा the internal efficiency of school system covers the study of problems relating to wastage and stagnation. You know that wastage कौन stagnation कौन बोला बार जानी dropouts utilization of school buildings, equipment, ଯେମିତିକି conservation ହେଲା, development ହେଲା, distribution and utilization of teaching and non-teaching manpower in school system with the people teacher ratio, teacher salaries, management, nature of school, library facilities, length of schooling, time utilization by the students, the location of school, and re-enrollment trends. So this is the internal efficiency of education, how internally the school is good. If no wastage, no stagnation, zero dropout, excellent utilization of school buildings, best utilization of school buildings, distribution and utilization teaching learning materials is so good, teacher student relations is excellent, teacher pupils to teacher ratio is good, so teacher salary is also have good, management criteria is good, democratic nature is there, library is also good. So these aspect makes education internally strong. If we talk about ଆମେ କୁହନ୍ତିନି ଯେ ଆମ ବିଦ୍ୟାଳୟର ଗୋଟେ ସ୍କୁଲ ବା କଲେଜର library and the laboratory talks about how the students are, isn't it? Okay. Next, we'll see the external efficiency of education. Very simple thing. How in the internal aspects and external, you can say, as a study of internal efficiency deals with qualitative aspect to the internal problem. Aspect of the internal working of the school system. Semiti, the external efficiency of the system indicates the relation between the school stage, the coordination between the school stage, educational sector, economic and higher educational sector. So we know that it has got both the qualitative and quantitative aspects. ଯଦି ଆମେ କୁହନ୍ତି quantity perspective ରେ, it attempts to measure how far the system produces the required number of students need for remaining the sector. And if you talk about the qualitative aspect, the system tries to show whether the educational sector is producing the type of output needed according to the present and future need of the economy. So it may even involve the study of the utilization aspect of output of the educational institutions. So when the products of educational institutions get settled in employment, means ଆମ ଛାତ୍ରମାନେ, ଆମ students, we definitely get a benefit because the qualitative aspect, we're giving quality education, and how many numbers of teacher students are getting job. So study ଗୋଟେ ହେଇଥିଲା, study of after education wastage in the form of increasing average waiting period of the employment seekers under utilization of the employed, etc., will be form of use in the study of unit cost of education, we can say, right? So these are also important factor. Just generally we ignore these things, how and why it is important, isn't it? But we should remember that how what amount of students are getting job employment, and we can say what the quality of education you are giving to your students, your pupils. Next, we'll talk about the political economy of education. I can show you here that the if you have seen right to education act, you have seen in a very the universal declaration UDHR, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, adopted and proclaimed by the General Assembly UN on 10th December 1948. New York, 19. So the right to education here, ଆମର ଯୋଉ educational right ଆସିବା ପୂର୍ବରୁ very during the independence we may talk about just after independence 1948 international laws and provisions are there for legal status and implementation on the basis of right to education. So here the Article 26 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights talks about these 3 points. Everyone has the right to education. Education shall be free, at least in the elementary and fundamental stages. Elementary education shall be compulsory. Technical and professional education shall be made generally available, and higher education shall be equally accessible to all the basis of it. କହିଛି 1950 କଥା କହିଲି UDHR ରେ ଗ୍ୟାଜେଟରେ ବାହାରି ପଡ଼ିଥିଲା ଆମର if you talk about India କେବେ ଆସିଲା
Sir, PPT show
RTR
କରୁନି sir.
Sir, PPT is not visible.
is visible now
No sir. No sir.
No, sir.
No,
visible or
sir.
not
No, no, no.
No, no, no.
अरे ये visible होना है मुझसे
Sir, I think ଆପଣଙ୍କର network problem ଅଛି.
is my voice audible
Yes
to you
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
1 second I'm checking actually yes maybe now it is visible
No, sir.
No sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
hello
Yes,
am I
sir.
audible
Audible.
hello
Yes, sir.
Yes sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
actually there is some network issue I hope because I have internet here connection I'm checking it and you are saying that slide is not
Sir,
visible so
it is
I'm
visible.
trying to again
Sir,
Visible
visual.
sir.
Invisible, sir.
ଜଣେ କହିପାରୁନ
Sir, now the slides are visible.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much. So let us will talk. You know that very well. ଆମେ independence ବହୁତ ଆଗରୁ ପାଇଲେଣି, isn't it? But you know that the RT Act କେବେ ହେଇଥିଲା ଜାଣିଛ? RT
Sir,
Act କେବେ?
2009. 2009.
2009
Very
2010
good,
ରେ
very good,
Sir,
implement ହେଲା।
sir,
very good,
implement
very good.
ହେଇଥିଲା 2010.
Okay, you are excellent. Thank you very much. I got it. So you got it that 2009. Just imagine in 1948, an UN Convention, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, proclaimed General Assembly decision ନେଇଥିଲା that education as a fundamental right minimum for elementary level, and we are getting education as a RT Act ଆମର 2009 ରେ ଆସିଲା. Okay, we'll see it. Everyone has the right to education. Education shall be free at least in the elementary and fundamental stages. Elementary education shall be compulsory, technical, and professional education shall be made generally available, and higher education shall be equally accessible to all on the basis of merit. Second point कौन थिला? Now education shall be directed to the full development of human personality and to the strengthening of respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms. So it shall promote understanding, tolerance, friendship among the all nations, racial or religious groups, and shall further be the activities of UN, United Nations, for the maintenance of peace. The parents have a prior right to choose the kind of education that shall be given to their children, isn't it? And we are getting education after a fundamental right you may talk about. RT Act is coming after 50 years, isn't it? Just imagine where we were. Okay, now we'll see basic education as a fundamental right. So the concept of basic, free, and compulsory education you must know. You know all, but I am just making it more. Basic and elementary education. Basic education, as we have seen above picture, is not limited to a specific stage or level of education, but refers to education of all children, youth, and adults. Even the notion of elementary education in the UDHR was not intended to refer to any particular stage or level in the system of formal education, as is generally understood. And it broadly meant an education that would have give children a good start in their life. ଆମେ ଯଦି ପିଲାଙ୍କୁ ପ୍ରଥମରୁ ଆମେ ଏଜୁକେସନ ଦେବା ପାଇଁ ଟିକେ ହେଜିଟେଟ୍ ଫିଲ୍ କରନ୍ତି, ତାହେଲେ ଆମେ ପିଲାଙ୍କୁ ଭଲ ଏଜୁକେସନ ଦେଇପାରିବା ନାହିଁ। ଯଦି ଗଭର୍ଣ୍ଣମେଣ୍ଟ କାହିଁ ପ୍ରୋଭିଜନ କରିଛି ନା, ପ୍ରଥମେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଛୁଆଟି ଫ୍ରିରେ ପାଠ ପଢୁଛି, ବିଦ୍ୟାଳୟ ଯାଉଛି, ପଢିଲା ପାଠ, ତାର ଏଜୁକେସନ ଗଭର୍ଣ୍ଣମେଣ୍ଟ ସବୁ ବୁଝୁଛି, ପେ ଏକ୍ସପେଣ୍ଡିଚର ଯାହା ସବୁ, ପ୍ୟାରେଣ୍ଟସ ମାନେ ଭାବିଲେ ନାହିଁ ଛୁଆଟି ଏତେ ପାଠ ପଢିଲାଣି, ଏତେ ଜିନିଷ ଜାଣିଲାଣି, ତ ଆଉ ଟିକେ ଆଗକୁ ପାଠ ପଢୁ, ଆଉ ଟିକେ ତାକୁ ସ୍କୋପ ଦିଆ ଯାଉ। And know that education is now a part of human rights dialogue, isn't it? I am agree with this, and you should also think about that. The 21st century saw uh, human right accepted worldwide is a guiding principle towards creating a foundation କଣ ପାଇଁ? ଆମର freedom ପାଇଁ, justice ପାଇଁ, and the peace in this world. as every individual need it. I mean the right to basic education in Indian perspective we see that till the goal is not fulfilled. There are certain international laws and provisions, isn't it? The UDHR କହିଲି यूनिवर्सल डिक्लेरेशन ह्यूमन राइट्स जो असेंबली अडॉप्ट करछि कौन अडॉप्ट करछि ना अडॉप्टेड इन जनरल असेंबली ऑफ द यूनाइटेड नेशंस इन 1948 has a historic importance in setting out the standard of achievement in human rights, isn't it? So the compulsory education also differed for states since the UDHR was adopted. States here refer to countries rectifying the UDHR. Education should be a compulsory, not for it is not optional. It's a choice, compulsory for all. Pre-education it implies that it was obligatory for the states to provide for the education of its people. States means your nation. However, the extent of compulsory pre-education was to be defined by the states as per their capacity and the prevailing educational situation. ଏବେ ବି ଦେଖିଛ କିଛି ଦେଶରେ ଏଜୁକେସନ କମ୍ପଲସରି ହେଇପାରେ ନାହିଁ ଫ୍ରି ହେଇପାରେ ନାହିଁ କିଛି କିଛି ଜାଗା you talk about if we go the across the globe you will find where education is not reached till now. So it was also recognized that there was a obvious limit in even a country beyond which education cannot be made compulsory without at the same time offending the very idea of education is right. So in case of India, legal status and implications we will see. What we will see that the provision in the constitution, the influence of the human declaration of human rights UDHR, implications of DPSP, derivative principle of state policies, and also you can see the very important article, the commitment to implement some institutional directives, the article 45 part 4 of the Indian constitution. What says it is very important UGC net question as it. The state shall endeavor to provide within a period of 10 years from the commencement of this constitution for free and compulsory education for all the children until they complete the age of 14 years. Until they complete the age of 14 years. It is Article 45 Indian Constitution states. Now we'll talk about the planned overview of education. Okay, our Indian perspective how we have seen that the seat in education. You know, education is a basic and fundamental right.
Sir, PPT can't visible.
Put it visible only.
No, sir.
No, sir.
How it is happening? I can see.
Yes, sir. Visible. No, sir.
No, sir.
For the network problem wait करो.
ମୁଁ ଆଉ ଥରେ ଡିସ୍କନେକ୍ଟ କରିକି ନା ପିପିଟି ପ୍ରେଜେଣ୍ଟ କରିବି ଆଉ ଥରେ ଟାଇମ୍ another time. Actually, I hope there is some network issue due to evening period. I hope there is a network issue. Okay. Visible है ना?
PPT is visible.
Supposedly.
Yes, sir, visible.
Okay.
Yes, sir, it
Okay.
is visible.
Yes, sir.
चलो ठीक है ठीक है. So I'm talking about the commitments to implementation of the Indian Constitution. That you know the Article 45 how it is helpful, isn't it? And you know there are larger number of amendments. The 1968 National Policy on Education that are going the first India 1968 National Policy on Education provided for free elementary education. आरंभ है. The late. So 1968 National Policy on Education for free and elementary education. तापुरे जो national policy out रहेला 1986 national policy education emphasized two aspects of its new thrust in elementary education: universal enrollment and universal return of the children up to 14 years of age. So the substantial improvement in the quality of education in addition, there have been specific amendment to constitution. Can be seen
Sir, again not visible, sir.
Am I visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm trying to make it clear. If the network issue is there, that's why it is. So I'm trying to just trying to focus. If I hope the slides are visible, right? It is clearly seeing me.
Yes, sir. Visible.
I can already doubt. I can say.
Okay, okay. हाँ कुह
सर हमर 1964 ରୁ 66 जो कोठाई कमिशन आस्थिला तापर 1968 रे न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी आस्थिला सर हेटा तो
न्यू नुह एटा national policy on education.
नेशनल पॉलिसी ऑन एजुकेशन आस्थिला तार तार हेटे डाउट रहउची केतेले माने सर 64 60 कोठारी कमिशन कोन आ 86 जो 68 कमिशन टा कोन
60 देखो इंडिया रे प्रथम थर पई जदी national education policy means जो policy टा पूरा complete education system को कवर करे ता आगुरु केबे national education policy हेनी इंडिया रे प्रथम थर पई हला 1968 रे national policy on education जोटा कि education for all perspectives it had been highlighted सबूर करिकुलम सिस्टम तार असेसमेंट सिस्टम तार एडमिशन क्राइटेरिया एवरीथिंग वर्तमान तुम देखिछु जे 2020 रे आछि नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी NEP. So this is the third. First 1968 National Police and Education. 1964-66 that is Kothari Commission. Right? It talked about the education, strengthening the education system, not talking about the all perspectives of education. India ra pratham thar pai national education policy for all directions is only in 1968. 8 आरंभ होला 68 आरंभ होला 68 पॉलिसी हला परे बहुत गुडा इश्यूज थाए फर्स्ट टाइम एतळ पॉलिसी हला तार किछि लैकुनास थिला से लैकुनास को रेक्टिफाई करिया पाई 1986 रे आउ थरे रिवाइज हला बुझिला कि नहीं जो आउ 14 वर्ष परे 18 वर्ष परे रिवाइज हला परे ता परे भी 1986 रे जो हला रिवाइज सेथिरे भी किछि प्रॉब्लम्स रहिला ताको पुनी आउ थरे 1992 6 वर्ष परे गुटे आसिला POA प्रोग्राम ऑफ एक्शन से प्रोग्राम ऑफ एक्शन आउ टिके चेंज कला जे एक्चुअली नेशनल पुलिस एजुकेशन में कौन कौन इश्यूज रही सो यू नो दैट educational policies are being modified day by day और 1986 92 होची टिके मॉडिफाई करची सम एस्पेक्ट्स बट 92 टा नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी नुह सेटा होची प्रोग्राम ऑफ एक्शन किछिटा पर्सपेक्टिव से चेंज करची 1986 परे नेक्स्ट पॉलिसी होची नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी 2020 2020 ठीक अछि ओके so we are talking about the nature and scope of policy you know that so many education policy decision making political perspective education रे अछि तामे टिके देखिबा कोन तार नेचर और स्कोप रोच a process through which a policy नहले आमे देशर डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्रेस हेई परिबो नाही so a policy through which any society handles an educational problem it includes a society's expressed intentions and official enactments as well as its consistent patterns of activity as well as inactivity in the area of education for strengthening the education system for bringing certain changes in the education system it is making more clear right in a policy you will find everything is reflected what are the activities inactivities problems enactments our demands of society are expressed reflect that there. Then the process by which governments you may talk about society translate their educational vision into programs and activities to deliver outcome that is desired changes in the real world what actually the desired goal is there after this policy what we will have society रे कोन परिवर्तन आसीबो the government initiative नउछि and it is an explicit or implicit single decision maybe or a group of decisions that may set out directives for guiding future decisions isn't it तम देखिछो जे वर्तमान हम जो नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी हिची सेथिरे एजुकेशन स्ट्रक्चर ता चेंज हिची ना 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 you know that how in 4 stages is education is there and also you will see that B.Ed out 2 वर्ष हबो नाही B.Ed भी also really 4 years MPhil degree उठी जाइची and there are some additional changes also there in many perspectives of education which will bring a multidisciplinary education so to focusing the future decisions targets actions of the nation government is taking some initiative the kind of decision a guiding implementation for previous decision of isn't it policy level generally policy code हुए at maybe national level, international level, global policies, policies at local level, but at institutional level, right? We have seen that, I mean, देखिए वर्तमान एजुकेशन रे किछि Indian system or education policy in India. We will see some policies here, right? You know that education policies are how much helpful for bringing qualitative changes, quality as well as quantitative educational changes, and also bringing production, productive education, right? So there are policy cycles are there. I mean, ଗୋଟେ policy ଥିଲା ତା revision ହେଲା, revised policy ଆସିଲା, again policies, because according to the changes, societal changes, need, demand of government, means people's public, global policies are framing. International level policies are there. UNESCO, World Bank, SARC also framing some policies. International policies named education, use of new technology, which are being promoted. What is our World Bank hochi, UNESCO hochi, SARC, isn't it? Our national level, you know that government legislation and policy decisions are also tend to initiate national development, as in India, where IGNO has been assigned. IGNO has been assigned the roles of offering distance mode courses besides monitoring and augmenting the quality of distance education in the country. So a country's political and legal system also determines the scope of education policy. For example, it could be enriched or enshrined in the Constitution, Act, regulations, statutes, chapters, and policies. A policy at a national level would have would deal with corporations, business, non-government organizations, charities, and in certain foundations also. Right. So institutional level, local level also we frame some rules, regulations, policies. Government, state government also making some policies. Okay, we will go talk about some few policies of education policy in India. ଆଗରୁ ଆମେ ଜାଣିଛନ୍ତି ଯେ
Sir,
ଆଗରୁ ଆମର
sir,
education
policy of labels. Sir, policy of labels. First global policy, then
international level, national level, institutional level. You can also add here state level. Okay, I have framed here according to your syllabus, but
thank
you
you,
can
sir.
add here also state level policies, by national institutional level or local level, right? School, college level. ତମ କଲେଜର କିଛି ନର୍ମସ ରେଗୁଲେସନ୍ସ ୟୁନିଭର୍ସିଟିର ତମେ ଚାକିରି କରିଛ ବା ସ୍କୁଲ ଚାକିରି କରିଛ ନା ଜାଣିଛ ତ ଏବେ ଆଗରୁ ମ୍ୟାନେଜମେଣ୍ଟଟା education system full autocratic thila, but after the school based management SBM and according after the involvement of parents like SMC school management committee, SMDC school management development committee, the participation of the stakeholders has been increased, both the parents, teachers, community members, the political members like the Sarpanch, ward member, the Asa Kormi, they are also the part of this system, right? So those who are directly and indirectly linked with education, they are now part. And the label has been changed. So government has provided the opportunity to the different institutions that you can adequately also frame some rules and policies to implement your school level and to for the development of your school. Definitely, you have to obey the guidelines of government headed by the state or central level or national level. But in local level, institutional level, you can frame it. You can guide the students and you can frame the guidelines and uh, norms and regulations through which we can move. Okay. Now we'll see the education policy in India. You know that India has a long tradition of education, starting from the Gurukula system in ancient India. ଯେତେବେଳେ କି education was considered as a matter of personal concern. Ancient education was aimed at training of mind and acquisition of knowledge. Three basic process involved in the education system कौन थिला ना श्रवण मनन and निधिध्यासन. श्रवण means श्रुति ଶୁଣିକି ମନେ ରଖିବା, knowledge passed orally from one generation to another generation. Second stage କଣ ହେଲା मनन. This means lectures. Lectures were expressed to think about what they have learned, making their own interference and assimilating those lessons, those thoughts to their life. And another was Sravan, which stage allowed the learners to comprehend the truth, understand the real truth, and its relevance to the society. Education was mostly for the Brahmins and Kshatriyas, including women, while other castes were expected to learn family trade from the parents. So, education among the Hindu families served the Brahmini families. However, during the Mughal period, education like of that Hindus favored the rich rather than being based on equality of educational opportunities. So, dhire dhire changes asichi. So, little emphasis was placed on the development of scientific education and research. But nowadays, various education commissions have therefore emphasized the need of eradicating of the backlog of illiteracy and provide education to all. You know that ଟିକେ ଆଗରୁ ସେ କହୁଥିଲେ ଯେ ଜଣେ ପ୍ରଶ୍ନ କରୁଥିଲେ, ମୁଁ ଟିକେ ଆହୁରି ପଛକୁ ପଳଉଛି, ମୁଦାଲିଆର କମିଶନ 1950-53 ବା ସେକେଣ୍ଡାରୀ ଏଜୁକେସନ କମିଶନ ତାକୁ କୁହନ୍ତି. It was the Lakshman Swamy Mudaliar Commission 1952-53 which made the school a center for teaching learning activity center. School as a center for teaching learning come activity center. Kint Mudaliar Commission. On the basis of Mudaliar Commission, the report of secondary education shifted to producing ideal democratic citizens by emphasizing the all-round development of the learner. तापर कौन आसिला 1964-66 कोठारी कमिशन. In India, 1964-66 the Kothari Commission or the National Education Commission. এটা national education policy नो बाबा, सेटा national 1964-66 जोटा हम कहंती कोठारी कमिशन तार अन्य ना होची National Education Commission. So which was appointed जोटा हेतला हमर कोन which was appointed in 1964 felt that the need for a uniform educational structure in India. Educational structure ta uniform haba dorkar. So the Kothari Commission gave priority to vocational education, technical education, engineering, agricultural education as well as science education. So कौन हैला ना ये कोठारी कमिशन 64 थिला एतबळे हमर नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी आसिला तार टिके परिवर्तन कोन a major shift in Indian education system was 1986 68 रे एते परिवर्तन किछि हेई नाही only first educational policy हैला national education policy but in 86 when the new education policy came ba you may talk about NPE National Education Policy 1986 फॉर्म हैला पूरा सबु दिग को लक्ष्य करी पूरा ऑल राउंड प्रोग्रेसिव चेंज पाई बा यू मे टॉक अबाउट ऑल राउंड डेवलपमेंट ऑफ स्कूल कॉलेज यूनिवर्सिटी टीचर रिक्रूटमेंट एवरीथिंग एंड किछ भी लाकुना रही गला in latter modification into the program of action POA हैला 1992 टारगेट कौन थिला ना टारगेटेड कला the all children up to 14 years with quality educational provision before the start of 21st century 21st century आरंभ हुआ पूर्वरु सब पिला 14 वर्ष कम पिला इक्वल एजुकेशन अपॉर्चुनिटी दिया जिवो फ्री कंपलसरी शिक्षा दिया जिवो तापर हमर आसिला न्यू National Education Policy 1986 independence you may talk about independence of India gave much importance to elementary education which saw the enrollment in elementary थिला कोन independence पूर्व टिके परिवर्तन हला gave us importance in basically elementary education which saw that he remarked that the enrollment in elementary level increasing from 42.6% to 94.9% in 1999 1999 सुधा right. So greater emphasis was also placed on secondary education, higher education and university धीरे धीरे परिवर्तन हैला. That means a major shift in education occurred in 1986. एतले प्राइम मिनिस्टर किए थिले राजीव गांधी. When the Rajiv Gandhi, the then prime minister of India, announced a education policy that is national policy on education 1986 which was intended तैयारी थिला कोन उद्देश्य रे prepare India for the challenges of 21st century. So the national policy on education emphasized the need for change, stating that education in India stands at the crossroads today. Neither normal linear expansion nor the existing space and nature of improvement can meet the need of the situation. So we can talk about that. आमे तळे पढुथिले as an assessment of the 1968 policy. Okay. As an assessment of 1968 policy showed that earlier goes that kon hitila na largely it has been achieved that in India larger part of our country rural people was within a 1 kilometer of schooling facility tar uddesya rakha hala. Mode of state कौन थिला adopted कौन थिला education system कौन थिला ना 10+2+3 education structure थिला वर्तमान तो चेंज है कि 5+3+3+4 ହେଇଛି और 1968 कहतला जे मैथमेटिक्स और साइंस ऊपर बेसी इंपोर्टेंस दबा. However, financial organization support education system was lacking. गवर्नमेंट रे केते पैसा किछि मिलु सेमिति सपोर्ट मिलु नथला जोटा कि प्रॉब्लम क्रिएट करथला एजुकेशन को एक्सेस पाई आउ क्वालिटी एजुकेशन अभाव होतला. Isn't it? and political importance also there. So, Amedi Kuhunji, the main thrust of National Education Policy, the National Policy on Education 1986 was the promotion of privatization and continued emphasis on secularism and science. How? Because it identified the quality of education in India as increasingly being a problem and developed several initiatives to correct the imbalance, such as government ବହୁତ policy କରିଛି ବହୁତ ଗୁଡ଼ାଏ ଅପରେସନ ବ୍ଲାକ୍ ବୋର୍ଡ କରିଛି ରିଟର୍ନିଂ ରେକଗ୍ନାଇଜ ଟିଚର ଏଜୁକେସନ କରିଛି 1987 ରେ MML କରିଛି ମିନିମମ୍ ଲେଭେଲ୍ସ ଅଫ ଲର୍ନିଂ କରିଛି ନ୍ୟାସନାଲ ପ୍ରୋଗ୍ରାମ ନ୍ୟୁଟ୍ରିସନାଲ କରିଛି isn't it so many things I'm talking one by one. OBB, Operation Blackboard 1987-88, that aimed at improving the human and physical resources available in primary schools. ତାପରେ ପିଲାମାନଙ୍କୁ ସବୁ ଦିଆଗଲା ସରି ସ୍କୁଲ ମାନଙ୍କରେ ବହୁତ ପ୍ରକାର ଫ୍ୟାସିଲିଟିସ୍ କ୍ରିଏଟ୍ କରାଗଲା isn't it? Then 1987 ରେ ଟିଚରଙ୍କର ଅପଗ୍ରେଡିଂ ହେଲା ଅପଗ୍ରେଡେସନ ଅଫ ଟିଚର୍ସ ନଲେଜ ଆଣ୍ଡ କମ୍ପିଟେନ୍ସି ତାଙ୍କୁ ଟ୍ରେନିଂ ଦିଆଯିବ. So restructuring and reorganizing of teacher education 1987, which created a resource for the continuous upgradation of teachers knowledge and their competencies. Then asila MLL, minimum levels of learning 1991, that laid down levels of achievement at various stages, gave emphasis to revised textbooks. Then you may talk about NP, National Program or Nutritional Support to Primary Education, Class 1 to 5 পর্যন্ত. Meal every day for children. Private provided cooked meal every day for children class 1 to 5 for all government aided and local body schools. Then as DPP, District Primary Education Program 1993 states that decentralized planning and management, improved teaching and learning materials, and school effectiveness. सभ्य पढ़ंतु सभ्य बढ़ंतु. Movement to educate all 2000 aimed कौन कहूची universal primary education by 2010 already passed through micro planning and school planning, school mapping exercises. Then fundamental right 2001 as provided for Indian Constitution, involved the provision of free and compulsory education as a basic right for children as between 6 to 14 years. So the NEP also targeted the marginalized groups such as disabled children, also provided special incentives targeting the parents, also scheduled caste, SC, ST, OBCs, all, isn't it? We have seen that some progressive changes are there. Okay, but I want to again say that the National Policy on Education NEP 1986 was re-examined in 1992 when some targets were recast and some formulations were undertaken in relation to adult and elementary education. So the 1992 re-examination of NEP by NP 86 laid emphasis was on the expansion of secondary education. Remember, 1992 जो revision हला emphasize on the secondary education, while the focus on the education for minorities and women continued to be a priority. The focus on education for minorities and women continued to be a priority all time. So it is equally gave importance to the development of non-formal education through a centrally sponsored scheme to educate school dropouts, working children, ଯୋଉମାନଙ୍କର ପିଲାମାନେ ଲେବର ମାନେ ଯୋଉମାନେ ମାଇଗ୍ରେଟ ଲେବର ସେମାନଙ୍କର ପିଲାମାନଙ୍କ ଶିକ୍ଷା ଦରକାର କେନ ସେମାନେ ପାଠ ପଢେଇବେ isn't it working children and children of the migrant laborers and children from areas without schools isn't it? Those school nine mobile schools will be there for their development isn't it? So it is very much important for all. You should have a greater idea. So you know that the educational policy requires great political will and the allocation of scarce public finance. It is required for the implementation. But as the experience of other countries, it has been shown that difficult does not mean impossible. Example of how other countries have grasped the challenges of education for their population shows that with the requisite mobilization on political will and economic support, countries could undertake transformation of their social and economic levels. So it is very much important for all the teachers as well as stakeholders having the idea, knowledge about these things. Okay. So thank you for today. Are you getting me? Are you getting me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Listening.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
Fine.
sir.
Any doubt comes to your mind or anyone to
ଆଜ୍ଞା ସାର୍
have
ଗୋଟେ
a
ସାର୍ ଆପଣ ଯେତେବେଳେ ସାର୍ କହୁଥିଲେ ଯେ ସାର୍ ଆମର ପ୍ରଥମ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ ଇଣ୍ଡିଆ ଇଣ୍ଡିପେଣ୍ଡେଣ୍ଟ ହେଲା ପ୍ରଥମ କମିଶନ ହେଲା ୟୁନିଭର୍ସିଟି ଏଜୁକେସନ କମିଶନ ସାର୍ ଆମର ଏମିତି କଣ ଅସୁବିଧା ଯେ ଆମ ଡାଇରେକ୍ଟ ୟୁନିଭର୍ସିଟି ଏଜୁକେସନ ଉପରେ ଫୋକସ କରା ନା ସେକେଣ୍ଡାରୀ ନା ପ୍ରାଇମେରୀ ଉପରେ ତାର କିଛି କଜ ଅଛି କି
କାହିଁକି ପ୍ରଥମେ ୟୁନିଭର୍ସିଟି ଏଜୁକେସନ କମିଶନକୁ ଇମ୍ପୋର୍ଟାନ୍ସ ଦିଆଗଲା ପ୍ରଥମେ
ଆଜ୍ଞା ସାର୍
ଏଇଆ ତୁମ ପ୍ରଶ୍ନ so as you know
ଆଜ୍ଞା ସାର୍
that during that time ସେଇ ସମୟରେ ୟୁନିଭର୍ସିଟି ସିଷ୍ଟମ ବହୁତ ପୁଅର ଥିଲା very poor if we see the structure the level and the standard of education during just after independence the standard and level of education system at university at college level was very poor quality and equitable education as well as research was not available during that time so as per the study and whatever I found in several researches, it has been reported due to the lack of innovations, researches in that era, the government of that time given priority for strengthening the higher education fastly because those who are getting the primary and secondary education they have to go the foreign for higher study so no certain good universities or educations institutions for all for many people those who are educated or have completed the course they are divided that's why the government have taken certain initiative to strengthen it. As for my point of view, whatever I have learned from research articles, so you may see in another perspective that may have the government seen that to bring innovations, changes and development, ଦେଶ ପ୍ରଗତି ସେତେବେଳେ ହେବ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ ଗବେଷଣା କରିବା କିଛି ନୂତନ ଜ୍ଞାନକୁ ଆଣିବା ତେଣୁ ସ୍କୁଲ କଲେଜରେ ନୂତନ ଜ୍ଞାନ ତ ଦିଆଯିବନି ସେମିତି କିଛି ସେମାନେ ସୋସାଇଟି ସମାଜ ବିଷୟରେ ଜାଣିବେ ବ୍ୟକ୍ତିଗତ ଜିନିଷ ଜାଣିବେ ଏବଂ ଆଗକୁ ବଢ଼ିବା ପାଇଁ କ'ଣ ଆବଶ୍ୟକତା ଜାଣିବେ। କିନ୍ତୁ ଯେତେବେଳେ ୟୁନିଭର୍ସିଟି କଲେଜରେ ଆମେ ପଢ଼ିବା ସେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ ଦେଶ ବିଦେଶର ଖବର ବିଷୟରେ ଜାଣିବା, ଦେଶ ବିଦେଶର ଏଜୁକେସନ ସିଷ୍ଟମକୁ ଜାଣିବା, ନୂଆ ନୂଆ ରିସର୍ଚ୍ଚ କରିବା, ଇନୋଭେସନ୍ସ କରିବା, ନ୍ୟୁ ଆଇଡିଆଜ ଆସିବ। ଯେତେବେଳେ ନ୍ୟୁ ଆଇଡିଆଜ ଆସିବ, ନ୍ୟୁ ନଲେଜ ଆସିବ, ସେତେବେଳେ ଆମେ କିଛି ଚେଞ୍ଜେସ୍ ଆଣିପାରିବା। ବୁଝିହେଲା? So according to focusing on those points, I hope government have taken this initiative. Whatever I have read out from certain books. Okay. Anything, any more question?
Thank you, sir.
Most welcome. Shubhasri. କଣ କହୁଛ?
Sir, NEP, New Education Policy, and NP, National Policy on Education.
କୁହ କଣ ଜାଣିବା ଚାହୁଁଛ? ତା ଭିତରେ କଣ ଫରକ ଅଛି ନା ତାର ପ୍ରୋବ୍ଲେମସ୍ କଣ
ଆଜ୍ଞା
ନା
sir.
କଣ ଜାଣିବାକୁ ଚାହୁଁଛ? କଣ ଜାଣିବାକୁ ଚାହୁଁଛ କୁହ?
ନା ମାନେ ମୋ କହିବା କଥା ଏଇ ଯୋଉ NEP ଟା ସେଇଟା ହଉଛି ନ୍ୟୁ ଏଜୁକେସନ ପଲିସି।
ନ୍ୟୁ ନୁହଁ, NEP ହଉଛି ନ୍ୟାସନାଲ ଏଜୁକେସନ ପଲିସି ନା 2020 ଆଉ 1986 ହଉଛି NPE ନ୍ୟାସନାଲ ପଲିସି ଅନ ଏଜୁକେସନ। ଆଉ ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ ଯୋଉଟା ଅଛି ନ୍ୟାସନାଲ ଏଜୁକେସନ ପଲିସି। ବୁଝିହେଲା?
ଆଜ୍ଞା sir.
ହଁ। ଆଉ କଣ? ୟେସ୍, କିଏ ହାତ ଡାକୁଛନ୍ତି? ଲୁପି ପାନି ପ୍ଲିଜ। Anything you want to say? ମୁଁ ଗୋଟେ କଥା ତମକୁ କହିବି ଆଉ ଥରେ, ଯୋଉ ତମେ ପ୍ରଶ୍ନ ପଚାରିଲ ମଧୁସ୍ମିତା, ଯେ 1986 ଯୋଉ ଆମର ନ୍ୟାସନାଲ ଏଜୁକେସନ ପଲିସି ହେଇଥିଲା, ସେ ପ୍ରାୟୋରିଟି ଦେଇଥିଲା କାହା ପାଇଁ? ଟିକେ ମୁଁ କହିଦେଲି ଗୋଟେ ଭଲ ଜିନିଷ, ଭଲ କଥା ମନେ ପଡ଼ିଗଲା। ସେ ପ୍ରାୟୋରିଟି ଦଉଥିଲା ଆମର ମାଇନରିଟି ଏଜୁକେସନ ପାଇଁ। ଟିକେ ଆଗରୁ ମୁଁ କହିଲି ୱିମେନ୍ ଏଜୁକେସନ ପାଇଁ। ପିଲାମାନଙ୍କର ଯୋଉ ଡ୍ରପ୍ ଆଉଟ୍ ରେଟ୍ ବଢ଼ି ଯାଉଛି, ଡ୍ରପ୍ ଆଉଟ୍ ରେଟ୍କୁ କମାଇବା ପାଇଁ। ଆମ ଦେଶରେ ଆଡଲ୍ଟ ଏଜୁକେସନ ସେଣ୍ଟର ନଥିଲା। ଆଡଲ୍ଟ ଏଜୁକେସନ ସେଣ୍ଟର କରିବା ପାଇଁ ଯୋଉମାନେ କ୍ଲାସ୍ 10 ବା 9ରେ ଫେଲ୍ ହେଇଗଲେ, 8ରେ ଫେଲ୍ ହେଇଗଲେ, ଛାଡ଼ିକି ପଳେଇଲେ, ଲାଜ ଲାଗିଲା ପଢ଼ିଲେନି, ଖରାପ ଲାଗିଲା ପଢ଼ିଲେନି, ସେମାନଙ୍କ ପାଇଁ ବି ଅପରଚୁନିଟି ଦିଆହେଲା। ବା ଯାହା ଘରେ ସେ ପିଲାମାନେ ପଢ଼ି ପାରୁନାହାନ୍ତି, ଆଡଲ୍ଟ ଏଜରେ ସେମାନେ ଚାହୁଁଛନ୍ତି ନା ଆକ୍ଚୁଆଲି ଶିକ୍ଷାର ଭୂମିକା ବହୁତ ଅଛି, ଆବଶ୍ୟକତା ବି ଅଛି, ମୋତେ ଏଇ ପଢ଼ିବା ଦରକାର, ସେତେବେଳେ ଫିଲ୍ କରୁଛି, ଆସିକି ପଢୁଛି। ସେଥିପାଇଁ ତାଙ୍କୁ ଗୋଟେ କରାଗଲା ଆଡଲ୍ଟ ଏଜୁକେସନ ସେଣ୍ଟର। ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ଭୂମିକା ଦିଆଯାଇଥିଲା ଇମ୍ପୋର୍ଟାଣ୍ଟ ଜିନିଷ, ଯୋଉଟା କି ହଉଛି ଆମର ଭୋକେସନାଲ ଟ୍ରେନିଂ ତାଙ୍କୁ ଦିଆଯାଉଥିଲା। ଦେଶ ପାଇଁ ତାଙ୍କୁ ପ୍ରପୋଜ କରିଥିଲେ କି ନ୍ୟାସନାଲ ପଲିସି ଅନ ଏଜୁକେସନ NPE 86। କିନ୍ତୁ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆମର ଯୋଉ ବର୍ତ୍ତମାନ 2020ରେ ଆସିଛି ନ୍ୟାସନାଲ ଏଜୁକେସନ ପଲିସି NEP 2020, ସିଏ ହାଇଲାଇଟ୍ କରୁଛି କଣ ନା ବେସିକାଲି ମଲ୍ଟି ଡିସିପ୍ଲିନାରୀ କୋର୍ସ। ଏଜୁକେସନ ଇଜ ନଟ୍ ଫର ସ୍ପେସିଫିକ। ଆମେ ମ୍ୟାଥରେ ବି ଆମେ we can link to music, right? How music is helpful to solving math. ଆମେ କାନରେ ଗୀତ ଶୁଣିକି ମ୍ୟାଥମେଟିକ୍ସ ପ୍ରୋବ୍ଲେମ ସଲ୍ଭ କରୁଛନ୍ତି, ବିରକ୍ତ ଲାଗୁନି। lecture through recitation, we are providing certain facilities. vocational courses ତା କଥା ମୁଁ କହୁଛି, NEP মানে larger opportunities for the learner, bucket system of choosing options, music, science, art is also given. So many things are there. মানে how you can find out education in this direction is very much important. ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ଡିଫରେନ୍ସ ତମକୁ ମୁଁ କହିବି ଯେ 1968 ଆଉ 2020 ର ଫରକ। 86 ତ ମୁଁ କହିଦେଲି, 86 2020, ବଟ୍ 68 ରେ ଯୋଉ ପଲିସି ହେଇଥିଲା ନ୍ୟାସନାଲ ଏଜୁକେସନ ପଲିସି, ସେଟା କି ମେନ୍ ଫୋକସ୍ ଥିଲା କଣ, ଇସ୍ୟୁ ଫର ଆକ୍ସେସ୍, ACCSS, access and equity. Equity means you know very well what is equity. Equity is the quality of education is poor in many areas ही समझ थिला, but the NEP 2020 not only focuses on the access, equity of education, ଆଉ ଟିକେ additional part ଦେଲା କଣ, quality of education and educational research, innovations, changes, modification education system, constructivist approach in learning, student friendly education, collaborative learning, multidisciplinary learning, এই ଟିକେ ଏରିଆକୁ ଫୋକସ୍ କରୁଛି। ଇଭେନ୍ ତମେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଗୋଟେ ଆନାଲିସିସ୍ କରିବ ଯେ ନ୍ୟାସନାଲ ଏଜୁକେସନ ପଲିସି 2020 ଆଉ ନ୍ୟାସନାଲ ପଲିସି ଅନ୍ ଏଜୁକେସନ 86 ରେ comparison, it's very good thing. You will find so many directions. Okay, thank you for asking this question. Any more?
ଆଜ୍ଞା ସାର୍, ଆପଣ ଏଇନା ଯୋଉ କହିଲେ କୋଲାବରେଟିଭ ଲର୍ନିଂ, ସାର୍ ଆମର ଦି ପ୍ରକାର ଗୋଟେ ଲର୍ନିଂ ଆମର ଅଛି, ଏଟା କୋଅପରେଟିଭ, କୋଲାବରେଟିଭ, ସାର୍ ଦିଟା ଭିତରେ ଡିଫରେନ୍ସ?
Okay, very good. Anybody can answer, please, from you. You are from different backgrounds, you should know it, please. Anybody?
Sir, cooperative learning means the learning which we can get through our teacher, or that is we call the facilitator. And collaborative learning means the learning through which we get learned by ourselves, like the peer learning.
Peer learning.
Yes, sir. Peer
You are
group
very good.
learning, that is.
Yes, tell me. Anything
Yes,
more
sir.
you want to?
Peer group learning, which we call the cooperative learning. Sorry, sir. Peer group learning, which we call the collaborative learning, and the cooperative learning is the teacher or the facilitator which gives knowledge to us.
Okay, very good, thank you very much. So I just want to make a difference between those two. Okay, very simple thing, very no very large differences, isn't it? What is a collaborative learning actually? Collaborative learning is a very new, fantastic learning style, जोटा कि that encourages teamwork and it creates facilities and opportunities for meaningful social interaction. ତମେ କିଛି ପାଠ ପଢୁଛ, କିଛି କଥା କହି ଜାଣିଛ, ତମେ ଭ୍ୟୁଟାକୁ ପ୍ରକାଶ କରିପାରୁନ, ବା ଆଉ ଟିକେ ନଲେଜ ତମର ଅଭାବ ହଉଛି, ଆମ ତମର ମୋର କଥାବାର୍ତ୍ତା ମାଧ୍ୟମରେ, ଇଣ୍ଟରାକ୍ସନ ମାଧ୍ୟମରେ ଲର୍ଣ୍ଣିଂଟା ମିନିଂଫୁଲ ହଉଛି, ସେଇଟା ହଉଛି କୋଲାବୋରେଟିଭ ଲର୍ଣ୍ଣିଂ. The learning happens action, or you may say by, you may say uh, students, or you may say Colleagues can ask thought-provoking questions, share their innovative ideas, and probable valuable feedback to enhance their learning experience. Collaborate କରୁଛନ୍ତି ତମର ନଲେଜ ଅଭାବ ଅଛି କି ଜାଣିନ କଣ ଜାଣିଛ ତମେ କିଛି ଆଇଡିଆସ ପ୍ରୋଭାଇଡ କରୁଛ ମୁଁ କିଛି ଆଇଡିଆ ପ୍ରୋଭାଇଡ କରୁଛି and we are learning with interaction, learning through interaction, through help, through opportunity, isn't it? Collaborative learning ର କିଛି example ଦେବାକୁ ଚାହିଁବି ଯେମିତି ହଉଛି study groups ହଉ, project work ହଉ, problem solving method ହଉ, group groups ହଉ, writing groups ହଉ, discussion groups ହଉ, debate ହଉ, peer editing groups ହଉ, these are the examples of collaborative learning. ଆଉ ଏହାର ଉପକାରିତା କଣ ନା ଆମର ପ୍ରୋବ୍ଲେମ ସଲଭିଂ ସ୍କିଲ କୁ ବଢଉଛି, ଆମର କମ୍ୟୁନିକେସନ ସ୍କିଲ କୁ ବଢଉଛି, ଆମର ସୋସିଆଲ ଇଣ୍ଟରାକ୍ସନ କୁ ବଢଉଛି, ଆମର ମୋଟିଭେସନ କୁ ଗ୍ରୋ କରୁଛି, ସେଲ୍ଫ କନଫିଡେନ୍ସ ବି ଡେଭଲପ କରୁଛି, ସେଲ୍ଫ ଏଷ୍ଟେମ ବି ବଢଉଛି। ହେଲା ବୁଝିହେଲା, ଏଟା ହଉଛି କୋଲାବୋରେଟିଭ ଲର୍ଣ୍ଣିଂ। ଆଉ କୋଅପରେଟିଭ ଲର୍ଣ୍ଣିଂ କଣ ନା କୋଅପରେଟିଭ ଲର୍ଣ୍ଣିଂ is a method of instruction, wherein students work in small teams to achieve a shared learning goal under the instructor or the teacher or the teacher's guidance. ବୁଝିହେଲା, ଏଇ କୋଅପରେଟିଭ ଲର୍ଣ୍ଣିଂ ରେ ବା in this approach students are assigned specific task or roles with the groups. ଏଠି ଗ୍ରୁପ ରେ କାମ କରୁଥିବା ପ୍ରୋଜେକ୍ଟ ଇଣ୍ଟରାକ୍ସନ ସୋସିଆଲ ଇଣ୍ଟରାକ୍ସନ ହଉଥିଲା, ତମର ପ୍ରୋବ୍ଲେମ ସଲଭିଂ ଥଟ୍ ହଉଥିଲା କୋଉଠି କୋଲାବୋରେଟିଭ। ବଟ୍ ହିୟର students are assigned specific task, ତମକୁ ଦେଲି or roles with the groups, ଛୋଟ ଛୋଟ small group ରେ, and each member contributes their quick unique skills। ତମର କଣ ସ୍କିଲ୍ ଅଛି ତମେ ଦେଲ, ସେ ତାଙ୍କର ସ୍କିଲ୍ ଦେଲେ ବା ନଲେଜ ଟୁ କମ୍ପ୍ଲିଟ୍ ଏ ପ୍ରୋଜେକ୍ଟ, ଗୋଟେ ପ୍ରୋଜେକ୍ଟ କରିବା ପାଇଁ କାମ କରିବା ପାଇଁ ତମେ ଦେଲ और accomplish a shared goal। सो एथिरे जो प्रकार लर्निंग है एटा होचे हमर कोऑपरेटिव लर्निंग। कोऑपरेटिवली वी आर लर्निंग बट नॉट इट कोलैबोरेशन होनी, हेल्पिंग ईच अदर, तू एटा भूल एटा ठीक, मो एटा भूल एटा ठीक, मो ए जगह स्ट्रांग अछि, व्हाई यू आर राइट व्हाई आई एम रॉन्ग, एथि हला नहीं। बट तुमर जहा लर्निंग अछि हमें कोऑपरेटिवली हम आर सजेस्टिंग आवर आइडियाज। सो दिस अप्रोच इज आल्सो गुड कोऑपरेटिव लर्निंग, वेयर जने लेखिବାକୁ ଚାହୁଁ ଯେ କୋଅପରେଟ କରୁଛନ୍ତି, ହେଲ୍ପ କରୁଛନ୍ତି, ତାକୁ ଆସିଷ୍ଟ କରୁଛନ୍ତି, ବଟ୍ ଇଣ୍ଟରାକ୍ସନ ଇଜ ହିୟର ଲେସ୍। ସୋ ଦ in this approach cooperative learning approach facilitates academic learning, enhances social skill କରୁଛି, ତମର empathy skill develop କରୁଛି, respect for others perspective, ସିଏ କଣ କହୁଛୁ ତା view କୁ ଆମେ importance ଦେଲେ, ତାକୁ ଆମେ ନୋଟ କଲେ। So by working together and relying on each other's strength, students develop a sense of quality, a good positive quality, and learn to value the value, learn to respect the others' view, learn to value the contributors of their peers, ସେମାନଙ୍କ view କୁ ସୁଧା ସେ importance ଦଉଛି। ରାଇଟ୍, ଏଥିରେ କଣ ହଉଛି ନା ଆମର कोऑपरेटिव लर्निंग रे हमें टाइम सेविंग होची, इफेक्टिव टाइम मैनेजमेंट हुए, हमें क्लियर हो जाते हम रोल कौन, हम रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी कौन, पॉजिटिव इंटरडिपेंडेंस आसे, सेल्फ एस्टीम बिल्ड करूची, लीडरशिप स्किल भी डेवलप करूची, isn't it? This is very common thing। बुझिएला ना कुछ कहबी
नहीं सर, थैंक यू सर। सर
ना
कोऑपरेटिव रे लर्निंग रे माने सब मिसी गोटे
आउट डे डिफरेंस तुम कह देबी गोटे गोटे डिफरेंस।
आज्ञा सर,
आमे यदि कहबा गोटे एस्पेक्ट नबा, एस्पेक्ट होची प्राइमरी फोकस कौन, कोलैबोरेटिव लर्निंग रे प्राइमरी फोकस कौन, आ कोऑपरेटिव लर्निंग रे प्राइमरी फोकस कौन। यदि कोलैबोरेटिव लर्निंग कहबा प्राइमरी फोकस होची कौन, ग्रुप पार्टिसिपेशन एंड कोलैबोरेशन, प्राइमरी फोकस। आ कोऑपरेटिव लर्निंग रे कौन ना टास्क डिवीजन करिवा एंड इंडिविजुअल एफर्ट्स दवा एटी कोलाबोरेशन नाही कि ग्रुप पार्टिसिपेशन नाही टास्क डिवीजन हला इंडिविजुअल एफर्ट तुमर एफर्ट तुम दियो ता एफर्ट मु देबी सॉरी ता एफर्ट सी देबो मो एफर्ट मु देबी एटा प्राइमरी फोकस एटी ग्रुप डायनामिक्स हुए कि कोठी ना कोलाबोरेटिव लर्निंग कलेक्टिव ग्रुप प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग कलेक्टिवली समस्त मिसिकी प्रॉब्लम रा सॉल्व करंती गोटे प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व हम समस्त मिसिकी कले एठी कोन हेची ना हम तमरो रोल तुमको असाइन कर दिया है क्लियर गोल बा रोल असाइनमेंट्स तमरो गोल तमे कोर्पोरेट लर्निंग यू आर डूइंग इन रोल बट कोऑपरेटिव ठारो कोलैबोरेटिव यथेष्ट भलो तापर इंटरैक्शन कोड बेसी होची ना हम कोलैबोरेटिव लर्निंग रे